Well, certainly hope everyone enjoyed their Thanksgiving with their family, and hopefully you didn't eat too much like me. But we're here on Friday. Not only is it Black Friday, folks, but it's the last trading day of the month in a condensed session. You know what that means? That means some unexpected fireworks. We're going to talk retail stocks, of course, on this Black Friday. Not too much else going on in the markets. We'll talk about Microsoft under pressure from the U.S. government again. Special guest host for most of the show, a familiar face in the PMP crowd. You guys will be glad to see him, and he might be up to a few tricks. It's Friday. It's pre-market prep on Black Friday.
The volatility right now is really incredible.
Wow, look at that consolidation on the upper right chart.
You know what we've seen this earnings season? Some of these expected moves get even more violent. This is why I have switched my strategy 10 years ago. And if you're chasing, you're in trouble. I'm jumping in. Joel's the old mute chick right here, right now. You're missing your intro. The mute trick.
It was off. It was off. Did you?
It was on. You were muted, buddy. Okay, let's go. I'm going back to the background. Say what.
Okay, S&P started off strong on a strong note, trading near the highs of the session, up 13 and a half handles, all-time closing high. That was made just a few days ago at 38 and a quarter. That's the bogey for today. The dollar down just a couple pennies, 106.02. TLT, interesting rally here. Chart doesn't reflect it as much, but that's up 58 cents at 93.59. USO flat 71.91. GLD that's up 226, 245.75. SLV up 60 cents, 28.05. Kind of hanging out near the low of the move. And Bitcoin, well, it's still hanging up there. After that big day on Friday, we're up $370 at 98,315. Now we can bring in Triple D, who's already scolded me once on the show. Good morning, Dennis. How was your non-holiday?
Kind of was a holiday, kind of wasn't. And Spencer got sick. We cannot get away from the sicknesses here. This holiday season has just been the last 3 weeks. You know, Natalie was sick, my wife was sick, then I was sick, then Natalie got sick again, then my wife got sick again. I haven't totally gotten over the sickness. I'm still kind of congested a bit from 3 weeks ago. And then Spencer got sick yesterday. So it's just been an unbelievable run here. Although he's feeling well this morning. So it was a puke and rally, we may basically call it there for just like yesterday morning, and he's back. So I mean, it's just been illnesses this season. I don't know why so much.
All right, well that's not good. All healthy on this end. Little bit too close of a Lions game.
Oh my gosh, what was going on? And how in the hell don't they call a timeout? I mean, they just wasted that clock. 35 seconds left.
I can't believe it.
Tick down.
That's like 5 plays or 4. I mean, not 5.
It's unbelievable. And the best they're having after is a Hail Mary. I mean, that was just the worst clock management I've ever seen watching. It's not like I watch, I'm more hockey than football, but I do watch my Lions. I've never seen that poor clock management ever. That was unbelievable.
Yeah, see, the spike the ball would have used their last time out. So, and it was also third down. I mean, you just need to sit and talk about it.
Figure it out.
Well, obviously the thing is get a couple more yards and try a field goal to tie it up.
Just anything. Like that, like just wasting the last 35 seconds, like you said, it could get 3 plays off at least during that time. And then you just got the Hail Mary at the end. That's what you got out of that. That was just brutal clock management. But we'll take the win, Joel. I mean, 11-1. The Lions had lost 6 Thanksgiving Day games in a row or something? 7. And I'm like, oh my gosh, the streak's going to continue. Like when it was happening, the comeback was happening. Obviously, they didn't cover the spread, but holy, it was actually like going to be a disaster for Lions. To lose to the Bears after the season they had. So they averted disaster, but wow.
I'm worried about the defense. I have to be honest. It's just they're just too banged up. But anyways, that's 5 minutes into the show. We have an unusual situation here where it's the end of the month, the day after Thanksgiving on a shortened trading day. Now, the big boys have to come back to their desk and square some positions. You think maybe that happened on Wednesday, but everything is about the Friday mark here. So a little bit of how late are the stocks going to stay open today,
Well,
Devin?
you've got a close of 1 o'clock, so we're going to close early today, but the after-hours session will go till 5. So you do have the after hours, but the official close is going to be 1. And to your point, Joel, it's very interesting because this is actually the end of the month as well. So we have a shortened, obviously a shortened week here, but it's always interesting when you put an end of the month day, which is typically a higher volume day, in holiday trade. So you could have some institutions jockeying they're jockeying their positions here today, end of the month, going on in a holiday less liquid environment. That could equal some pretty wicked moves. So don't expect this market to do nothing today. There could actually be some moves here at the close.
All right. Our special guest host is in the background preparing, so he will be giving me a thumbs up when he wants to come on. And let's get
He says, yeah, he's going to be 1 second. Special guest host hide in the background. He's going to come back here 1 second here.
Special guest host.
Multiple guest hosts. I think we have multiple guest hosts here. Now, this is interesting. Maybe we'll be back next week. Christian will be back next week here. But we have multiple guest hosts here right now. Give us the thumbs up when you are ready. Mr. Guest Host, it's 3 guest hosts. 3 of them here. Thumbs up.
Okay.
Here he is. None other than the great Money.
There we go.
Money Mitch. There he is.
Look
at these guys.
How we doing? The twins are
great.
in the house.
What are their names?
All right. So that's the fun part, right? Like, who do I have on my right and who do I have on my left?
Figure them out. You got to figure them out. Look at these guys.
And then Tony.
Tony.
That's the fun part. Look, that's William.
That's Tony. Then what's the other one's name?
They look alike.
Oh my gosh, they look alike. Holy mackerel!
Awesome.
No, you don't want to see me.
Joel's trying to blow up your screen, but we're too dumb to figure out how to do that. I
wish
got rid of the chart for a second to make it bigger.
Yeah,
that's good.
They look happy, Mitch. What are you feeding them for breakfast?
I don't know, man. They're getting chunky.
They get chunky.
They're adorable, man.
They
are doing?
Look at the smiles.
They're identical, man. Those duplicates.
They are. I can't tell them apart. I don't know how you tell them apart.
I promise, guys. I hit 1 on the copy machine. 2 came out.
That's it. Wow. What's the names again?
So we got Antonio and William. They're taking over. A little prince. And then Antonio's a family name. So,
are they going to be baseball players?
Oh, you already know. They got to make the retirement for daddy, right?
That's it. Once they hit the big leagues,
I'm gonna pull them off and we'll talk some stocks.
Okay. All right.
We'll put Money Mitch. He's going to come right back here in a second.
Hopefully he doesn't drop them. They look looks like he's feeding them, man. They look healthy. But
they're cute. They're cute. So we got Money Mitch here for the day too. So we're just going to be talking some Black Friday trades. We're going to be going over some retail trades, some holiday trades. So let's get into it here. Back is Money Mitch here. What have you been trading, Mr. Money Mitch? What are you trading over there? Besides the kids, what are you trading over there?
Well, you guys know, one thing is, of course, I went over to the prop side of things. And with prop, it's all about trying to get some buying power, right? And being able to trade a lot. So if I'm trading a lot, guys. And I have tons of ideas right now. And you guys know I'm always about the theme idea. And I think that that's the most important way to trade in this environment and this age, right? Because the truth is, trying to go after one stock is not going to be probably the way to go about it. You got to catch industry and sector-wide moves. That's how you can really make some good money, right? And so right now it's the retail trade, right? The Black Friday trade. And then everyone's going to be looking at that. It's been back and forth this week. So I'm not going to say it's been a perfect trade. I even took some hits on Wednesday, of course, but ready to take a look at some of these names. And there's a lot of these names that I think are important. Let's start off with the platforms, because I think that this is a trade that actually has been done well the whole time, which would be Amazon and Shop.
Yeah.
All right. If you guys want, let me share my screen.
Go ahead. Let's share your charts. Now I'll tell you what jumps out to me.
We'll get those on here.
There we go. You guys should be able to see the chart there, and we can talk about it. All right, I'll make them full screen here so you guys can see them full screen. All right, so this is Amazon, of course. Let's take these indicators down. We don't need no indicators. All right, so
yeah, you know me and Joel, we like price.
Of course. So Amazon broke that 200, and that was right there on Monday, and it was a really nice look off of that 200. Now, of course, you're towards 206, but Shop made the same move, and that's what gave me the idea of looking for this trade. Shop was right back by this 9 EMA, was looking for this to start getting hot and start going to the top, and you can see how Shop has started to take off. And this is just a classic trade, guys. If you look at it every single year in the last like 7 out of 8, of course, we had like kind of the bear market that kind of ruined some of this action, but Shopify and Amazon are two names that trade during this time. So a lot of times what you got to be looking at, does history repeat, right? That's what I feel like happened here on Shopify. And these are more the platform behind, of course, a lot of the Black Friday trade. But there's plenty of trades here, right? What about Nike and the footwear?
Hey, Mitch, real quick.
Yeah.
I just
what do you got on those two?
we got back just real quick on Amazon here. We got back half of the move, right? But what our traders need to keep an eye on today is 208. The highs of, on the daily 208. Your last 2 days highs, 208 even, 207.64. You're still in the 206 handle. The spoos are strong. You want to see it carry up. First time up, it's resistance. If it busts through there, then greed or pasture. Let me just go to the Shop till you drop. That had to gap and go off earnings. They tried to give it back. It's just consolidating again here. I guess for Shop, trading up 56 cents, a recent high of the move. If you're looking for a target on the upside, 115.62, and the closing high of the move was made that same day at 115.09.
All right, so I got some more for you, of course, and then we can move over to footwear, and let's just talk about the three, right? It's Nike that I like. I also like a couple other ones here. I like.
Let's stop at Nike for a second, because Nike has been in the gutter for a long time here. But, technically speaking, I mean, starting to show a little bit of life lately. Didn't get down and breach, didn't even retest the July lows of 70. And the last few days, starting to perk up a little bit. Almost a flag, like a little bull flag starting to form here as well. So on the short term, look at the shorter term trade. But, I mean, you can kind of see it here. It actually does look somewhat productive. I do have Nike on for just a day trade here right now too. I'm long just because I'm long a pile of retail stocks in the Black Friday because they typically work. So I bought a lot of retail stocks on the close on Wednesday. And Nike just happens to be one of them as well because it's a name everybody thinks about here. But what do you like about it, Money Mitch?
I like the setup here. I like names that are beaten down and then could come back into story, right? Because the long-term fundamentals on Nike don't look great. And that I will agree with, right? I don't expect this to be, let's say a 5-week rally or something like that. No, we're just looking for a short-term little pop here, especially on beaten down names, right? And so Nike's definitely one of those that tried to get back to the gap fill, couldn't go to that level. It pulled back, and like you just said, Joel, it didn't go back to that 70. I think that's an important outlook.
It's important.
And then now you're starting to push above and just starting to rebound back. Do I think it could get to maybe 80, 85? Yeah, I think that could be in play here. So I think this is one to watch. And what I would like to see is, of course, the leader in this space, which is Decker's Deck, continue on its rebound. So it pulled back also, but look at this rebound. Now, that's a nice little rounding kind of pattern that's just showing strength in footwear. And this is just the best of breed in footwear right now.
Yeah, for sure.
But this is one to watch. So I'd look to see if this one could start making its way closer towards 200 and then start the interesting move also with Crocs, as you're seeing another beaten down one that is close to a similar chart, right? Very beaten down, starting to bounce back, just got back above the 9 EMA, which is that light blue line. And then you can start to see, do you go towards the trend break? Let's say maybe this 110 or this closing price here of 108.50s and start to push on a day like today, right? On a day where you're looking for these retail stocks to move. This is one that's beaten down that I think could have some good Black Friday sales and start to push.
Yeah, I'd like to look at the Nike just a little bit, more technical. We were talking about, hey, will it come down and test the low of the move? No, buyers stepped up where they did in August. You have matching ranges from the last 2 days, not inside days, but nearly matching ranges. But I think the real key, if you really want to see a run here in Nike, there's some pesky highs just under 80. And if they could, that's still a buck 20 away. So use that as a potential target on the outside. But what you need in Nike is like, not to just trade over for a couple days, but pop over. It didn't like establish a bid at 79, 79 and a half, something like that. Get a little bit more momentum to take it to that $85 area. Dackers, I realized, boom, right back at all time highs. Couple more days of consolidation here after the big move, and maybe take out what? Well, it's trading at an all time high right now. Nope.
Yeah, Decker's been unbelievable.
198.08, the all time high.
Definitely unbelievable. So that's why I'll watch that one to just show the continued strength. Let's go to the apparel names, and there's a couple of names here that have already been hot. You guys saw the reports. Gap was one of those that had a decent report. Urban even giving a decent report there, and I didn't expect that one. The surprising factor has been A&F. I've made money on this trade and lost money on this trade this week. So one good day on Tuesday, one bad day on Wednesday. So looking to see what happens with it today. Of course, the earnings were good. I mean, I don't think the earnings were bad at all. I mean, if you just go off of earnings, I felt like this should be a lot higher than where it is trading right now. It was up there on 160 on that day. We all know that it flushed on that day. I was still able to make money. It's funny. I made money on this big red candle, longing it, and then it lost money on this green candle. But that's just how it goes sometimes, guys. I like this trade. I think it's an interesting setup. It's been sideways, given a lot of time for, like, let's say institutional or bigger money to get in here. And I did see these kind of volume spikes here at the bottom near the support. And that told me a little bit more that there could be a bigger trader kind of sizing in here around the 138s to 135.
Yeah. I'm long Abercrombie & Fitch too. If you're talking any retail stocks, the odds are I might be long them right now because I just bought a whole mitt full on the Wednesday close, just assuming they'd probably be up well more than the S&P on Friday because that's just the trade that happens. And it is working here too. I've been slowly wiggling out of, sorry, I'm still fighting that cold, slowly wiggling out of some of these positions here in the morning, and I'm planning on getting out of them here at the open or, slightly after the open, depending on obviously where they're trading. But I just think, it's retail day. Retailers were probably pretty predictable on this day. I've traded Black Friday for 25 years. It's usually retailers trade up on this day. I mean, even Walmart, is trading up substantially too, like more than the S&P. So relative to the S&P, retail is definitely outperforming here today. Keep going here, Mitch. You're flying with these stocks. I like this.
I just want to talk to A&F. Just got to calm down a little bit. I mean, look at those last 3 days. They're red bars. It was a good report. Trading on earnings days, as you know, could be a little bit of a little bit tricky. But what I look for is just little maybe stabilization in here, not necessarily going back and taking out 160. But this has a period of where it puts a couple lows in the same area that gives you a head fake, couple lows in the same area, then 4 lows into the same area. So right now, stability is what you need in Abercrombie & Fitch.
Yeah, what I liked was that it did this momentum move quick to 160 and then pulled back and held that momentum 9. And you can see the Bollinger Bands that I have here also showing that middle line. It was a nice mean reversion, caught some of the bulls, washed them out. Now let's see if it can start moving right back, right? And I think that that's exactly what happened on that earnings day. Traders like me that were in on Monday and right before that trying to get that move just got stuffed. Right. And that can happen going into earnings. AEO is, of course, moving off of this. I don't like AEO as much as I like ANF, but it is moving off of this. So nice little setup here also as it's retraced. This is kind of like your undercut and rally strategy. Of course, Gil Morales, we could give him a little shout out still. I know he used to make that call out. And look at the volume here and the spike of volume on that turn. To me, that's not thinking that AEO is going back to the top, but that's just Black Friday traders trying to get in here and catch a little swing.
What do you think?
Here's a question overall in retail, because this day we have seen some of these stocks running a little bit into Black Friday. And sometimes, on Monday, you got Cyber Monday coming. Sometimes you get more of a lift here too. Do you get concerned here about the seasonality of this trade, or does the holiday trade just continue to carry these stocks? I'll ask Money Mitch that question, because some of these trades are natural holiday trades too. So sometimes you see follow through, but sometimes you get some Black Friday results and they're not, and again, not all the retailers report Black Friday results like they used to, but sometimes, expectations are here. They're running up into the Black Friday, and then they don't think, the numbers, aren't as high, from an overall perspective. And sometimes these things can actually have a few days sell-off after Black Friday and after Cyber Monday. Are you concerned at all about a Monday hangover?
No, because my thing is that that's when we get the statistics, right? And if there's anything that's going to give it the lift, really, let's be honest, this is front running, and then you get the stats on Monday, right? And on Monday, the stats could either be positive or negative. It's a binary event. Let's just be honest, right? We don't know which way it's going to go. But my thinking is this. Okay, so Trump won, and you can see the euphoria that's in the markets already. Everyone's seeing the economy as really positive. So my thinking is, yes, they still went out buying. Everyone probably goes out buying today, guys, and they're probably buying a lot of those AIs. And what I would expect to hear big, buy now, pay later numbers. So expect to hear that conversation. Of course, you could maybe think about a trade in a firm, but that's already ripped too much, I think, for you to maybe take a trade on that. But I think that that's what's going to happen here. It's not that the consumer is just, loaded with cash, but they're willing to spend. And if they're willing to spend, this trade doesn't go away in my eyes. I think you can continue seeing the lift. And the numbers that were in A&F's earnings tell me something. When a brand like Hollister is up 14%, that is their kind of the young generation, right? And if the young generation just wants A&F and AEO again, then maybe we got to continue watching these. And these moves might seem way too overblown, but the truth is, they're actually getting bought again. These brands are becoming in favor again. And that's
there's a trade right there. Just talking consumer trends, and where we know in retail, some brands get hot, then they go ice cold, and then other brands get hot. Following the consumer trends, just from an overall take a step back, gets you in a stock like On, gets you out of probably Nike. And you know what? If you were doing that a year ago, when you were looking at, hey, everybody's starting to wear these On holding shoes,
but say that
and they're not wearing Nikes nearly as much. You go back to a year ago, On's $30, Nike is $110. Now it's 78 Nike, and On is almost double to 57. I mean, understanding where consumers are trending to and what they're buying is huge. Even your kids, like you're going to have those kids grow up eventually, Money Mitch. But I look at what my kids talk about at school. I kind of, try to follow it to a certain extent, because there is an edge in figuring out, like Chris Camillo talks about on Dumb Money all the time. Consumers, following the trends of what's happening. What are people talking about? What's going on in social media? It calls social media ARB. Understanding that information coming through, that, hey, if people are starting to talk about the stuff, the stocks typically start to follow consumer trends.
One notable chart that I just wanted to alert for this AEO. This is for your longer term players here. I marked the spot here. Look how many we have there on the monthly. Let's bring it down here a little bit. Look at that. 4-5 months in a row stalled at the 2250 area. We're marking it here 1129. That's the date. So play up to there, but you get a sustained breakout over the 2250, then more in the runway for AEO. That's the way I'm looking at that stock here on Black Friday.
And last two, just to make some apparel mentions, and then we'll switch over. Lulu is definitely one that I've been trying to catch on this move. Why? Because they have extreme Black Friday sales, and this is when they try to get the majority of their customers is during these kind of months, especially the holidays. So I could look to see if this one gets the push. I can tell you guys, I was trading this in like the 321s on Wednesday, and looking to see if it recovered this Monday high, this 328. that's the level to watch for. If he gets past 330s, it could look like a little bit of a break towards the 350. We'll see what happens there with Lulu. Of course, the last one I just saw moving, it was Levi's. I'll give you that last one there. Also kind of a bottoming chart where you're seeing a lot of volume that came in on that Monday. Why was that? That's a Black Friday trade, right? Let's shift over. Let's get out of the retail conversation. Maybe talk a little holidays. Have you guys taken a look at the cruise lines?
Man,
NCLH was at an and you know, a lot of times we talk trading on this show, like day trades, but the investment opportunity on Norwegian, man, it was down there close towards earlier in this month, earlier in this year, August time. It was down here to 15. If you look at those prices, I mean, you were close to pandemic prices, right? And I mean, that was an amazing investment opportunity, I feel, in this Norwegian cruise line that's been pulling out boats after boats after boats. And it's really starting to come after Carnival Cruises lunch. I don't think it can take Royal Caribbean right now. But yeah, Norwegian is definitely one that I'm watching here. I think it can continue to lift, and you guys see it. I think it's an opportunity for more investment conversations. So
I mean, RCL has been best of breed here for a long time, and the RCL
100%.
move this year is nothing short of astounding. The stock is basically over doubled this year. If we start the year at right around there, we started the year at 118, 240, so we'll call that a double. Viking obviously IPO'd this year, VIK. A lot of people don't talk about this one, but the IPO came out at 25, the stock's 46. So
what symbol is that?
Almost doubling. VIK. Viking Holdings. Joel didn't even know it.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, no, I trade this all the time too. I mean, it moves. Like the cruise lines have been moving here for a while and really performing well. CCL, a little bit underperformance here. It's obviously the dog of the group, but it's starting to come back. So probably Norwegian and CCL have been the two laggards of this group, but they're starting to perk up here too. I mean, you come into, again, seasonality comes into play here. We're coming to a historically very strong period for stocks. And when you pick on retail names, people are talking about stuff. People are talking about doing things, So I don't think the cruise trade goes away here.
Yeah.
The RCL too, and I cannot remember. Maybe it was back in August. I mean, they came out with a report, and I'm just throwing out numbers here because I don't have it in front of me. But it was like they were supposed to make 5, and they made like 9. And they said, and we're going to make more. And I remember that. And it was I remember it gapped up that day, and it has never, ever, ever looked back. Paul Ader, he throws us in. Now, I don't know how much Disney is the cruise lines, but
they're pushing. They're pushing.
Yeah,
they made a mention on their earnings.
Has been pushing too.
Yeah, they made a mention on their earnings that they're coming out with two new boats that should be out. I think it was by 2029. So they are pushing into this and seeing it as an opportunity. That tells me enough, right? If they're seeing an opportunity, it's because the other ones are selling, and they're selling fast. Of course.
Well, let's be honest. Even with Disney, and Kramer last week was on one of the cruise lines there. We can talk about Disney stock, and it's obviously had a big run here. I'm not sure I'm buying it up at 120 now.
Yeah, it's a little
been an area where the stock has struggled before. Yeah. But speaking of Disney and the cruise lines, I mean, nobody does stuff better than Disney. When they start getting involved, keep streaming aside because they never figured out streaming. But when you want to do experiences, like real life experiences, Disney does them up, and those cruise lines are all going to be themed. So the kids are going to want to do these Disney cruises. I mean, it's obviously geared more towards the kids. But, you're going to go in that period, Money Mitch, where your kids start talking about Disney stuff, when they're 5, 6, 7 years old and 8 years old. And a Disney cruise, they're going to be themed. There's going to be a lot of things going on. Cruising just makes sense for Disney. And they've always had the shorter, but they need to get more involved there. I think it's a good move for DIS.
Yeah, really,
Moana 2 is out.
Nice.
Yeah, that's supposed to be. I don't know if I'm going to go see it, but it's supposed to have done pretty well at the box office on Moana 2. But yeah, gap and go. I mean, this is one theme that we've seen a lot in these earnings is that you get the gap and go, and if it can hold that gap, I mean, you can always think, oh, I can buy this, 103, 104. But man, when these stocks put in these kind of formations and they just don't give it back, you got an easy reference point. Sometimes they sneak in, they come into the gap, and then, they go back into it. But you never came near that gap day low in Disney. And then just recently you had a little bit of consolidation, right? You like to see that 3-4 days of consolidation. Nice move on Friday. The monthlies it's on the monthlies. Nothing up here until the 124 area. So if you're looking for a bigger target here for the House Mouse, you got a pair of monthly highs, 123.74 and 123.69. That's pretty darn close to each other.
Yeah, the interesting area, of course, like Dennis said, also, this is where we ran into a little bit of a head and shoulders in April, and then just came right back down. We'll see if it gets back. I was calling Disney earlier, like the 90s. I was like, yeah, the 100 seemed like a nice little pop into the earnings. At this point, I think it's a little extended, but we'll see what happens there.
I played at 90 to 110 a couple of times,
Perfect.
And this has been kind of the trade. It's been kind of the trade, not even in the last year, but the last couple of years. If we go 2022. We had the move up from 90 to 126. And then the same thing, we had the move from like 85 area up to just under that 118, in later 2022. Then we obviously broke down and got all the way down to 80. And now we got back up, earlier this year up to 123. Then we broke down again, down to 83, and then back up to 120. I think it's like range bound still over the course of 3 years. And 120 has been the upper end of the range. So I'm not sure I'm chasing it here.
Yeah, this has been the trade, right? Buy in the green box, sell in the red box, right?
There you go.
That sometimes,
the box
right?
trade.
The box trade, right? Just buy the box, sell the box, right? Expedia in that trade, right? What about that type of move here? And I was also thinking about maybe Airbnb starting to work its way back, right? I mean,
that's been a rough story. The Airbnb has been a rough story here for a while, but starting to perk up here too. I mean, there's so much rotation happening, and what we've been talking about on this show, Mitch, and I know you listen, has been just the rotation maybe out of the mega caps a little bit. And I think a lot of these other stocks are starting to benefit from that. Because if you really look in the last 2 months, Microsoft has gone nowhere but down, sideways, 440 down to 420, really down in the last couple of months. Google's had a really rough couple of months here, at least 1 month. But in the last month, it's down, from 185 down to 170. Meta hasn't had a really good time here in the last couple of months either. So mega cap tech, hasn't really gone down, but it's stalled. There's not that continuous buying happening in the mega cap names. Even Nvidia, hasn't been looking good here in the last couple of months. It's back to where it was in early October. So what has benefited from that move out of mega cap tech has been small caps, the IWM obviously outperforming, but it's been a lot of these smaller tech names as well, and some of these retail names that you're talking about. So maybe Airbnb, which is kind of underperformed, is starting to perk up here a little bit. The results weren't that bad, but they punished the stock for it. And now it's starting to look a little bit more healthy. I mean, you get up above 141, then you start to talk out. And again, remember, seasonality here. I don't really want to be short stocks right now. I'm biased to just be long. So, see these flag setups here. They're maybe not bad buys.
Yeah, and I agree with what you said there, especially the kind of leaning towards the bullish side. And you guys know, I'm the bear in the cave, man. So when I'm feeling bullish, there's the reason why. And it's because of the euphoria in the market. You brought about two conversations that I think are important there with Airbnb. I think this is definitely one that has seasonality that comes into play with it. And a lot of people are looking probably Airbnbs to stay in during the holidays, right? Because that's the easiest way to actually bring families together, right? You can actually have a dining room table versus going to a hotel, which, you're stuck in a room, right? So I think that this is one to maybe take a look at. Booking and Expedia already taking off. So I think those are hard to kind of catch up with because they've been moving already into this move. So it's kind of harder to play these and they don't get the biggest jump, right? So I would be looking at that Airbnb as a potential. But let's talk about that Microsoft conversation that you're talking about, because I think that's a bigger conversation that's important for the market. And I think I've been saying it. I've been seeing a sell-off of NVIDIA, and kind of what I was looking at was, were they buying Apple? And the reason why I think Apple is the move here is that I'm looking at what's called AI 2.0. And I think that AI 2.0 is right around the corner. And the biggest reason why, because now we have Trump in office. And with Trump in office, I think that you're going to get not deregulation, but barely any regulation in AI.
Less regulation for sure.
Exactly. Less regulation, less control on AI. And if that gives a window here to really push into AI, I feel. So I think NVIDIA, yes, you can go after NVIDIA, and NVIDIA will probably be a little bit higher in 2025. But I think Apple might have more outperformance of NVIDIA going into 2025. Why? Because of AI intelligence that just recently came out. I think they use that as a soft launch to just get a whole bunch of more data and really kind of fine tune what they want to do in AI. And so with that being said, of course, we all buy Apple products. So if they can really kind of hone in here with AI, that they haven't gotten the love for AI, I think it's just around the corner for Apple. And the reason why I'm calling it is because I'm starting to see these crap AI names starting to move, like AI itself, right? Just AI. You're starting to see this lift off. You're starting to see stocks like that. I like Tempest AI. And I don't think these are really the best AI stocks, but they're holding up. And there's a reason why you're seeing so much volume in these. And it's not like it's a small volume move. There's a lot of volume starting to load into some of these AI
It's retail
names.
driven. When you start seeing these names that are really talked about on social media, and it's a fantastic point you're making, it's retail driven. And they start grabbing, all these other names that have been beat up and they have been showing life. I think the point you're making is important here, though, because I'm sorry, I just keep fighting 3 weeks of this. This is like when you get into Apple and stuff, like we've been talking about rotation out of mega cap, the big 7. But it seems like eventually the money just rotates back into there. And even though they've taken a breather, and really that's what Apple has really taken here is like a 1-year breather, you could say, if you go out to the longer term chart. I mean, back in April, we were 220, we're 234. We're kind of taking a breather, but usually that money finds its way back into the mega cap 7. So it's hard to bet against these stocks, and they are still positioned the best. To Money Mitch's point, these companies like the Apple, the NVIDIAs, the Googles, the Microsofts, the Metas are still going to be, they have cash flow like crazy. They're still positioned the best to take advantage of AI. So if you think AI is not going away, it's hard to bet against Apple.
Apple's winding up. I mean, look at all the months it could solid, all the bad news. Oh, the sales are not as good. And this comes out and this comes out and they hit it. And then a couple days later, it comes, oh, nobody forget about it. And they hit it again. But look at this. I mean, look at I don't know why we dipped to 200. That might have been the August dip. Yep. Actually they did that in July, but Apple does this. It will stay in a range for a couple months and then bust out. So we'll see what the driver is to take it up significantly above the 3 monthly highs at 237. And right now, 220. I mean, that's just a rock here of support the last 2 months. I'm not sure what's going on with SMCI. It's in the news. The chat mentioned it here, taking a hit. And this is just the most volatile stock. Boom, take a hit down 380. So we'll have to catch the news. But if you've been looking, if you felt you missed this one, technical setup, fundamentals, I can't tell you about, but because we don't know what they are. But
I'm going to dig right now.
You're going to dig on this?
Yeah, I'll dig a bit. I just went to 3 news platforms. There was nothing on those.
I know, I did too.
Yeah, I have a pile of news platforms here, but none there. Just going and looking, it's got to be somebody that said something. Hope BDO didn't quit. SMCI, I'm joking, but it wouldn't be that fast. I don't think.
Hey guys, I wouldn't touch this with a 10-foot pole, but
it's a high risk stock. I mean, if BDO is in there, and they clean it up, they get the, obviously the filing out there and say, there was just, there was nothing major here, stock could be coming back. But if BDO was to say, well, this is a mess and we're out, stock could cut in half that day.
Yeah,
so I'm actually looking. I've on 4 news platforms, and I see nothing here right now on SMCI. So if you got the news here, chat, let us know here. This is a big move here. Obviously, somebody said something.
Yeah, there's a good amount of shares.
The 50% is under 30. Well, that's kind of interesting. the 50% here of this whole move is at the 28.50 area, and you dip just under 29 there, 28.84. So I don't know if it was some fake news or what did it, but and you got to have some movers today, right, on Black Friday. But S&P's a little bit of a sell off there, Mitch. I know you got another commitment here this morning.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and head out. The last one I'll just give you, and I know Dennis has been all over this trade, is the Tesla trade. I think you got to continue to watch to see 350s come here and break. What I'm watching there is a Mobileye also with this. I've been watching Mobileye with that news. I think we get autonomous in 2025. And with that being said, it's not just going to be Tesla. I think that makes a big rip. I've been watching this Mobileye to fill the gap. So I just wanted to bring that one up. I brought this one up here also in the chat. You guys will also hear me mention theme trades all the time in the chat here. I'm not here. I'm not trying to promote, guys. Honestly, I enjoy being with you guys. I enjoy being in the chat. I enjoy talking about trades because the truth is that's how we find trades, right? I pay attention to things that Dennis says, that Christian Fromhertz says, that Joel says, that a lot of great traders do. And what you do is you take that information and you start looking into the market, seeing if you're seeing these themes. Because the truth is, when you catch a theme and you catch an industry-wide move, you have the potential to stay in the green, right? Because it's 5, 6, 7 names going green versus just one. So there's one thing I've learned in my financial learning. It's trying to stay with the edge in the rotation. And that's what Dennis and Joel talk about daily, guys. So I'm going to get out of here. I hope you guys enjoyed me coming by.
Thank you so much, buddy. Take care. We'll get you back on soon.
All right, guys. Thank you,
definitely,
guys. All
him. Have a good
Mitch
one.
Joining us here on Pre-Market Prep. All right. It's just the bosses now, Dennis. Here you are.
Me and you, Joel. Just me and you.
Back in the old days.
We're going to do some ticker time here, but we're going to go to that in 4 minutes. I want to go back to Microsoft for a second here because we didn't get a chance to talk the news from Friday.
Yep.
So on Friday, FTC launching a broad investigation into Microsoft, and that is why the stock is trading down $2 in the pre-market. Normally, when the FTC investigates, they're usually buying opportunities. Google took a couple days, though. When the FTC started to get down dirty there, it stayed down for a couple of days, and Google got really whooshed, like 175 to 165. So I don't want to be early on this. Typically, they're buying opportunities, Microsoft, but the Google really got hit pretty hard on it. So I'm going to just sit back and be a little bit cautious on this one. Didn't bounce with the overall market here today because it was down on Friday night as well. Still staying down here. Let's see what happens when, we're in holiday trade. Let's see what happens after 9:30 when a little bit more of, the market opens and a little bit more of the liquidity comes in.
I talked about this before, just, the way this stock made its all-time high in July, right? It was before the August, and this really has not been participating. It's been, a laggard as far as, it's, $40-$50 off its all-time high. So on a relative strength basis, when the market's ripping, this has been a little bit of a laggard. But I'm just going to zero in on the upper right chart here. And man, there's big buyers here, 410. Look at all those multiple lows, 410, 411 area. So if you're looking at that, you're $11 low. And then not as many highs at the 430 area, but boy, you've had chop and slop there. So a bust out above 430. I think you got some room, a little bit more room in the upside. That 430 handle's thin. And that 410 support is support, but not as wide open, maybe drop to the 405, 406. But consolidation, but now these people that are doing these antitrust things, are they even going to be around in January? Or is there going to be a whole new
There's
group?
A good point to all this with the administration changeover. Like a lot of this stuff, could take a back seat here. So it's a great point. What we're seeing, today in the next month is going to be much different from what we see in 2 months from now or 3 months to now. And from Money Mitch's point, less regulation is usually what, Trump is all about there, letting the companies, do what they got to do. It's why the banks have had, a substantial rally since Trump has got in. We just continue to say there's Trump stocks and not Trump stocks. And I think you've got to be positioning for the next 4 years. There's a reason XLF continues to go up every day. We had the gap and we have the gap and go because people want to be in those stocks. I bought JP Morgan And, obviously, I chased up, because he had the gap and then he had the pullback. I picked up JP Morgan around 240. It's 250. I mean, I'm just repositioning my portfolio right now to take advantage, because this isn't like Trump's coming in and he's going to be gone right away. We're talking 4 years here. So, I mean, you've got to position yourself for that. And I think that's, where I'm positioning right now, is looking at what's a Trump stock, what's a not a Trump stock, and then just going from there. The S&Ps are leaking here, though. It's kind of interesting. Yeah, maybe spooked a little bit here. I mean, the SMCI stuff might be spooking. NVIDIA's leaking a little bit here now, too. Obviously, the antitrust stuff on Microsoft. Apple has now went into the red, so mega cap tech is not performing fantastic this morning. Tesla bouncing a bit after a rough Friday. But you are seeing an overall leak here, and probably that's a lot to do with the S&P, like with Microsoft being down and mega cap tech underperforming here this morning.
Right. We are now approaching the lows of the session. We had a close at 60.15, got up to that 60.35 area, and now leaking back. So kind of slow rally overnight, giving it back a little bit in the pre-market as we head in to that close. Dennis, we wanted to talk. We could do some ticker time today. I do see some stuff coming in, but I just wanted to see if we have taken care of all of our theme stocks. Did we miss any on the retail? I mean, the winners have
Mitch covered so many retail stocks. I feel like he covered it really well there. Okay. One theme we did not talk about yet is the memester trade, and we're seeing Life, GameStop breaking out here over $30. It's 31 here now. AMC, I've talked about that, showing a little bit of life, breaking out here over $5. You're starting to see some of those retail names. And again, when we see this happen, it typically means, it typically usually signals a short-term market top, which is a little bit concerning here. But, your high short interest names are hot right now. I often went to that highshortinterest.com was a site I've always talked about. When you start seeing GameStop picking up and you start seeing GME or AMC picking up, then you're like, okay, well, what else has a higher short interest? Because some of these names start to go up. Even Solar Edge, which is, been, really beat up because of solar trade, but it's starting to, look productive here. It's got a high short interest. Last time I looked, it was over 30%. So you're starting to see that probably pop just because of the high short interest trade here happening. But you're starting to see a lot of those dogs barking here right now. A little bit of bounce, not all of them at all, but, you're starting to see life out of some of the high short interest names. So if you're short a high short interest stock right now, I'd be very cautious here, because you're starting to see those stocks perk up a bit. Again, this doesn't always last. It doesn't go across the board, but we're starting to see a little bit of life in the last week or two in some of these high short interest names.
All right, we do talk the end of the month here. We did cover that a little bit, so you're going to see some good imbalances both on the open and perhaps more on the close, and there'll be less liquidity on the close. So, Dennis, any potential strategies? Are you going to try and play into the imbalance, or play the reaction afterwards?
Yeah, so typically I provide liquidity into those events. So when you have an option expiration, I'm on the offer and I'm on the bid. If the stock's trading here and there's a big buyer on the close, it may gap up on the close. I would be shorting that stock into that gap. If the stock's gapping down on the close, I'd be buying that stock into that gap. The way I play it is using OPG orders, opening or LOC orders. Sorry, we're talking about the close. So LOC orders, limit on close. So it gives me the closing print or it doesn't. So what I typically do is stocks trading here, I'll throw an LOC to short up here, an LOC to buy up here. If the stock continues to go flat, I don't get filled. Stock gaps down, I get filled. Stock gaps up, I get short. That's, how I play it. Sometimes these are nothing events. You send a bunch of orders. It doesn't cost you money to send orders, though. So I've always had spreadsheets doing that, and different algorithms I've used over the years to do that, to send mass amounts of orders. And, sometimes, you get some really good trades off of it. Sometimes you get nothing. So, but, it doesn't hurt to try.
And the reason that you like to try and play the reaction is a lot of times those imbalances can flip to the
so sometimes, show a big buy bounce. Traders will buy it and say, oh, it's going to gap up. And then they flip it and it goes to sell and they all get caught and trapped. So the way I've always played it safely now, years ago, there wasn't as many games being played. But with the algos out there, it's all games all the time on these closes. So you got to look and say, okay, well, maybe, this is a little bit of games being played here, trapping a few traders, and then they flip it on them and catch them. So, this is stuff we're going to talk about, more strategy as we build the show more. Obviously, we do pre-market prep here for you guys to give you guys the news, give you guys setups, what's going on here. But I mean, we're working on some other stuff where we're going to have strategy sessions, teaching you more. And if you like that stuff, let us know. Give us suggestions. What do you guys want to talk about? Because, we did that extended hour, and for a week and a half, and it was pretty good. A lot of people like that. We may go back to that eventually with more strategy involved. Let us know if you're interested in stuff like that. And give us feedback. We want to know. But let's do some ticker time here, Joel.
Oh, we got a lot.
8:50. We're going to come in here. Take your tickers right now. Chat wants strategies. Give us first ticker that shows up here. We're going to go to it right now. I know somebody was already saying SoFi multiple times.
Let's do SoFi. I wrote a few of them down. SoFi, wow. $16 up another 16 cents.
Running.
Yeah, look at the move. The new people's bank, right? The youngsters are going to SoFi. It's just been a straight up move here. The big move at the end of went from 10 to 16 here. Not much resistance on the monthly. Well, let me take that back. 1647 could be a target today. That was your high going back in January of 2022, and it's taken its little old time here. But I think you're not even halfway back on this from its crazy IPO. Boom. That will. Oh boy, that's the $16 area too, getting back half. So love to see this establish a 16 bid and then work its way higher. But SoFi been a great performer.
Again, you got to be cautious chasing some of these moves here because the stock was $8 8 weeks ago. Now it's 16, so the stock has doubled. So at this point in time, I would say I've missed the move, and I'm going to want to wait for a check back here because, yeah, it's beautiful when stocks just go up straight like this, but eventually there's a rug pull. It happens. And again, to what we were talking about before, this stock has completely benefited from the mega cap 7 underperformance. This is one of those stocks that's loved by retail, talked in the community, talked in the trading community. It's been an underperformer. And, if money's not just flying into your NVIDIAs, it's looking for other homes. And some of these beaten down tech darlings, and this was from 2022, when the stock hit up over $24, have been coming back. So, this is one of those other stocks that's just been running back here. But again, it's a lot of these moves have kind of happened already. So if you're coming in SoFi now, I'm like, well, where were you when it was 8, 9, 10? So it's a little bit late to be chasing this, I think.
Yeah, I see the one we don't talk about much here, Dexcom, DXCM, and I remember this one. I remember talking about this one on this gap down day, and I said you're not going to regret buying this in the 60s. The news, I believe it was an earnings report. It has not exactly been a rocket ship, but I believe it was something as far as growth goes. It's just been a slow and steady rally here, just inching up. I think it's going to need I don't know what it reports next, but not much in here, Dennis. 107.57. That was a big gap here, but just slow, kind of looks like a snake chart there, but this
snake chart. What's a snake chart? I've never heard you even use. I've known you for 25 years. I've never heard the snake chart.
Just kind of like slithering
along the bottom. The snake
Yeah.
chart. Or snake chart's bullish or bearish.
Hard
to say.
This one, it's moving up, but it has. If you could, looks like if you pick good buy the dip levels, it will hold there for 4 or 5, 6 days. Whether or not this 78, the lows from yesterday, 77. If it gets, builds another 3 or 4 lows in that area, boom, bust it up and get into that gap area. I would just wait for the next, obviously the next report, right? Because it just got absolutely shellacked on that last report. Wait for the next report and see if they can recover. What else what else?
Ticker time. We're going through.
What's a good one?
Tickers. Give us some tickers. DKNG.
DKNG?
I haven't talked it for a while, and it's been another one. Seasonality in play here to a certain extent as well. Like when you start getting towards, I think DKNG, is a play, obviously sports betting, but I think as the football season starts to get, more exciting as you get, later in the season, I think it's good for DKNG too. And I mean, the stock has come back a long ways from obviously, where it was when it was in the gutter at the beginning of November. So it's been a pretty good move. But we just put a triple bottom in. Joel, look at this, 42.72, the low 3 days ago,
Yep.
42.75, and then 42.75. That's a triple bottom if I've ever seen it. So that's your out. I mean, if you breach that, so if you're looking at this as taking the trade, you have a very well-defined level here. You'd get down to 42.60 or something like that. But if you want to take a shot, you risk yourself 45 cents here if you're picking up at 43.05 this morning, and stop yourself out like 42.60. And then you maybe get a shot at the upside here if you're saying this is going to continue. But the chart looks healthy.
Yeah, for like a really another major leg higher, I think you got to establish a 44 bid, right? Because had to dip in June, got over 44, crashed down to the low of the move, got back up 42, came back down, then you got up to 44 again. So are buyers willing to step up at 44 bucks? Not make it resistance, but make it major support. So good triple bottom, good setup here. Longer term investors, I would look to see if this can establish a sustained 44 bid, move its way higher. CrowdStrike, I saw that got a PT raise at Baird. Had earnings, had the pop. Good support here. I don't know. I'll let you go on this one here, Dennis. CrowdStrike.
Just come back too far at this point in time for me. Same thing, we can say, oh yeah, this was $200, and we kind of called it. I didn't participate in it, but we didn't kind of call it. We did call it. I said multiple times when Kramer was calling the bottoms, like I think he's right. The stock was $230, $240, and you saw that that reversal day, and that was again, I believe, the October. That was the day when everything reversed. That was August 6th or whatever it was. That reversal day for everything. That was the day. And I mean, after that, you kind of had the consolidation for a few days, but that's when you're striking. At this point in time, again, stocks run too far from me. 200 to 347 in 3 months, getting all of those losses back. I think at this point in time, I feel like I'm chasing it too much. So I'd want to check back before starting to get back in this thing.
Okay. Oh, how about good old Celsius Holdings, CELH? Still just skimming along the bottom of the chart here. Good support. Tried to bump his head up over 30, back down here. Just a long consolidation period. I guess if you want to, if you're looking for a longer term trade, the low of the move made this month at 25.23. So risking $3 here, but the pizzazz is off this stock, and until it could have show a better earnings report, it's probably just going to waddle in this area.
Yeah, hard to say. Again, dogs barking a little bit here. Traders are looking, what haven't I missed? So this is one that has that potential. Double bottom from the last couple of days, 27.45, 20. So that would be my stop out. 25 is a hard stop out. When stocks start making new lows, you got to go. So if you're in this, I would be a hard stop way down there. But you want to take a shot, you can take a shot on anything as long as you know where your out is.
All right, what else looks interesting here out of the chat here, Dennis? Qualcomm.
They're asking if I'm still long it. Yes, I'm still long my Qualcomm. Bought it back from Sean Udall. Gotta be back like not 10 years. I said 10 years in the chat. It's 2019. So it's only been about 5 years because I bought this around $50 back in 2019. Obviously, had a hell of a run. When it went to 125, I sold half of it. And I feel like I'm playing with the house's money forever now. So I'm probably going to die with this stock, Qualcomm. I don't even look at it. It's in the long-term retirement account. And probably just going to hold on to it forever. But from a technical perspective here, the semis, the chips have not been doing great. There's been money coming out of this area. You can look, from NVIDIA, but obviously just even the SMH. We're back down to like 3-month lows there. So it hasn't been a great time for the chips. Applied Materials, kind of a mess. Qualcomm, kind of a mess. Micron, kind of forming a little bit of a mess. Long Micron too. I mean, it's just not been a great time for chips, and they are cyclical. You've got to remember that as well. I mean, AMD has been a real mess here. So it's despite, seeing a lot of pretty productive charts here this morning, a lot of things going up. The semis and the chips have not been doing that.
All right, let's just take a couple more here before we wrap this up on this abbreviated trading session. Unity is being the last stock asked about here. Unity Boom, nice move. Is this the one you played around 17, 18,
Yeah, I
Dennis?
sold it. I sold before the earnings report at around 22. I sold half it going into the earnings report. I bought it at 17, I think, that day. I sold half of it on the recent earnings report. I think it was 22 and a half or 22 or something I sold. And then I sold the rest of it when it broke down through 20. I did not get back in. So it went down 19, 18, and almost down to 17, getting down to 17.31. And then they just blasted it off. And again, the beneficiary to mega caps underperformance is a lot of those darling stocks from 2021 and 2020 are starting to perk up here again. And Unity is another one. So, it's turned around on a dime. Like 2 days go bang, 17 to 20, next day 20 to 22. That's a big move.
Yeah, it's traded up 20 cents in the pre-market. Let's see if the buyers continue to step up at 23. Your last two lows in the sessions, 22.79, 22.93. So try and hold that support today. The recent high close of the move, 24.02. That was on the day that it made the high of the move too at 24.85. So Dennis, 9 o'clock. Do we want to do one more here? Want to do square before we wrap things up?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to talk market overall
Okay,
strategy
let's do
maybe
that.
here too,
Okay.
because this is always, an interesting day. Many traders, it's light trading, desks. A lot of traders take these few days off. Obviously Christian's off here today. AB is taking some time. Traders are taking time off on these days. And this means this day can typically go one of two ways. It could be a nothing burger or it can be a something burger. And you can say, well, that could be every day. But sometimes you see on this day, everybody assumes this, Friday is going to be nothing going on. But when less desks, when there's less traders on the desk and less, people maybe even running their algorithms, there's typically less liquidity in the market. It means if you get some news or if you get, a move in a certain direction, it can really turn to be violent in certain stocks. I mean, even the SMCI move this morning, which we're still looking for news and we haven't seen it yet, that's a violent sell-off. So don't discount the fact that you have less liquidity on this day. And sometimes you get some really good moves. Typically, I will tell you, the Black Friday is typically one of my best trading days of the year. So I never miss this day. And that's just because there's outsized moves, stuff starts going, a little bit more volatility than you think. Sometimes it's a nothing burger, but a lot of times Black Friday can really have some good trades.
All right. Well, we'll just keep an eye on the close right now. The Bulls, made a strong stand in the overnight session. Take these up into the area. A lot of resistance developing here in the upper 60-35 handle, 38. I believe 35 and a half is your high. Your last 2 days sessions just above that. So resistance a little bit more well defined today than support. But if we stay green, I'm just looking at us to hold the close at 60.15. Haven't even seen that yet. The lowest we've been 60.18. So Bulls are in control here. We take it out. So thanks for joining us on this Black Friday. You can do a little bit of trading or go do a little bit of shopping, whatever you prefer.
Remember, we have the early close too. So just to remind people, we said it at the beginning, but let's say it here at the again too at the end. 1 o'clock close today. After hour session goes from 1 to 5. So you have a hard stop on all stocks at 5. But 1 o'clock is the early close here today. So you could see some pretty wicked moves. Sometimes the algos don't even figure that out. You can sometimes see some moves after 1 o'clock because they think the market's still open. And I'm like, well, it's closed and they're still trading like it's open. So it screws the algos up sometimes too.
You told me that. I know, and it screws the charts up too.
It screws the
But
charts up too sometimes. Yep.
yeah. So, okay. All right. Tim Quast, Market Structure Monday, be joining us,
Nice.
and Christian will be back. I think AB will be back in the house too. So, everyone, enjoy the weekend. Not the long weekend, but the short. Be aware of the extended trading sessions today, especially if you're trading some of those weekly options. They're going to take that decay out of it right away. So. Dennis and I signing out here on this Black Friday show. Everyone, have a good day.